Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I know that this is an area of tremendous interest nationally. We know, especially since the Netflix documentary came out, we're getting a lot of calls. Let me begin by saying, kind of walk you through a simple explanation of the legal issues here. There are two vehicles upon which people that have been convicted of a crime, well, there are many, but the two are a habeas and the other one's a resentencing. They can ask for a review of their conviction.
Sir, I'm sorry, just the thumping on the...
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
It's okay. Thank you. Yeah. Under a habeas, in this case, we've gotten petitions for the brothers on both. Under a habeas, basically what someone that was convicted is asking a review of new evidence that had been made available. That had that evidence been available to the court and the jury at the time of the trial, perhaps the outcome may have been different. And then there's a second process, and it's called resentencing under California law, where a prosecutor can evaluate whether someone has been rehabilitated, and based on their actions and the fact that they're not involved in criminal activity inside of the prison, that their sentence could be reevaluated. In this case, again, the Menendez brothers are asking for a review through both of those vehicles. We have not decided on the outcome. We are reviewing the information, but I think it's also important that we recognize that both men and women can be the victims of sexual assault. We started a consent campaign to be timed with the red zone, and for those of you who are not familiar with the red zone, is when new kids are going into college and for the first time they're away from home, and we know that there's an increase in sexual assaults during that period of time. Now, most of the victims are usually young women, but there are men also that are victimized. And in our consent campaign, we made it very clear that only a clear and desirable yes means yes, and anything else is not consent. And I spoke very clearly, especially to young men, because most of the time are young women that are the victims of sexual assault, that they also have an obligation to understand that consent has to be very clear. But we also recognize that sometimes men and boys are the victims of sexual assault. We're seeing now the allegations that in the case of Sean Combs, according to the civil lawyers, about a half of the victims, and they could be way over 100, were men. And we have seen over and over again when both young boys and young girls are molested. So today, what I want to make very clear, we have not conceded one way or the other. We're not saying that there was anything wrong with the original trial. We have been given evidence. We have been given a photocopy of a letter that allegedly was sent by one of the brothers to another family member talking about him being the victim of molestation. We've also got evidence that was provided by the defense, by his lawyers, that one of the members of the Menudo band alleged that he was molested by the father. None of this information has been confirmed. We are not at this point ready to say that we either believe or do not believe that information. But we're here to tell you that we have a moral and an ethical obligation to review what is being presented to us and make a determination based on the resentencing side, whether they deserve to be resentenced, even though they were clearly the murderers, because they have been in prison for 35 years and they have paid back their dues to society, or whether a habeas is appropriate if there was evidence that was not presented to the court at that time, and had that evidence been presented, perhaps a jury would have come to a different conclusion. I don't think there is any question in this case that the boys or the men, young men, one was 19, the other one was 21 at the time, that they murdered their parents. I think that's factual, it's been established. I think the questions that are presented to us is two simple questions. One possibility, what is being alleged by his lawyers, not by us, that there was evidence that had that evidence been presented to the jury, the outcome of this case would have been different. And second, under California law, a path to resentencing where a prosecutor can evaluate whether someone has been rehabilitated, and if so, ask the court to determine whether the person should be resentenced. If they get resentenced, there are multiple things that could happen. They could walk out based on what the court decides, or they can have the sentence given a different shape, and perhaps they will stay on, but for a longer period, lesser period of time, or they can have a new trial. Right. And those are all options, and we will evaluate all of it. We have a hearing coming up on November 29th, and until we get there, we're not sure yet which direction this will go. Are there any questions? Oh, by the way, one of the things that I want to add too, because I think it's important that you contextualize what resentencing means. Since I've been in office, we have resentenced over 300 people. Of those, only 4 have reoffended, which is probably one of the lowest recidivism rate of any group that I'm aware of. If you do the math, and I'm here standing because if I was better at math, I would be teaching math or doing something else. It's a very low rate. In fact, if our recidivism rate for all the crimes that we face were to be that low, we would be the safest society in the world, and we're not. So just so you understand also, this concept of resentencing is a concept that we have used successfully many times and will continue to do where it's appropriate. Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Other than the November 29th.
Excuse me, I got a question. I'll get to all of you guys. Yes.
Given the cultural shift in how we view sexual assault, do you think that this case would have been handled differently if it was tried today?
Look, because I don't know yet the validity of all the evidence that was presented as opposed to the evidence that was not presented, I'm not here to make judgment on that, but there is no question that today would have been a greater level of sensitivity to the way the case was looked at.
You've had this evidence for over a year now. Why speak out today and now?
Well, there's a combination. It takes a long time, right? We get a lot of petitions for resentencing. We get a lot of petitions to evaluate cases for habeas. We investigate this very, very carefully. Often we go back, and not only do we go through all the original investigation, but we go through trial transcripts. We may, obviously, in the case of habeas, we may be looking at additional evidence. So this is not a thing that we take lightly. The fact that we have resentenced, for instance, 300 people and only 4 have reoffended so far is because of the work is so thorough. Yes, sir.
Other than the November 29th hearing, what's kind of the time frame or the timeline? Do you expect to make a decision after that hearing? And are you leaning towards one way or the other as far as having this resentencing?
Yeah, I'm not leaning in any direction right now. I'm keeping an open mind. We have people in the office that are looking at this very carefully, very experienced lawyers that are looking at this. That evidence will be presented to me. Their recommendation will be presented to me, but the final decision will be mine. Yes, sir.
The habeas petition was filed last year, and I believe your office has been putting 90-day extensions for the hearing. Do you expect that there might be another extension, or is that November 29th hearing, is there going to be a
Yeah, my intent is to be able to put finality to this, but I cannot tell you with any certainty because I still don't know how much work may need to be done. That's still pending. Yes, ma'am.
Have the prosecutors handling the case given you any advice, and if so, what?
Look, I mean, there are differences of opinion. There are differences of opinion within the office, and that is a healthy part of the process, right? You don't want to have everybody agreeing to any one thing, and then one of the things that I personally do well is by listening to different opinions and different ways of looking at evidence or looking at a particular case or the law. So there are people in the office that would tell you that this case should never be neither resentenced nor a habeas should be granted. There are other people in the office that believe that this should be evaluated carefully and that there may be a process there on a path. I will make the final decision based on all those conversations.
I mean,
That's correct. The family, my understanding is that the family, by and large, would like them to be released. Yes, ma'am.
Has the increased focus on this case from the public affected your decision to re-examine this case?
Well, look, when I was elected 4 years ago, I came on a very clear platform of looking at our work through a lens of a modern approach to criminal justice. And part of that is not getting simply locked up in what we did in the past, right? So there's no question that I may be more open to review things that other prosecutors may not. And that was the reason why I was elected. But I have to tell you, again, this is a careful, deliberate process. I will evaluate both the evidence that is presented by those that believe that no relief should be granted, and I will evaluate the evidence of those that believe that relief should be granted, and then I'll make a decision.
Do you believe Rob Rosella from Menudo that he was molested by the Menendez brothers' father?
I'm not in a place to tell you that I either believe him or disbelieve him. Yes, sir.
Is the family, as far as you understand, pretty united in wanting to see them walk out? Or are you hearing from other people close to the family or friends or other family members who want them to stay?
You know what? I don't know the answer to that. I know that certainly there are family members that believe that they should be released, but there may be other family members that disagree. Again, that would not be uncommon. Yes, sir.
Is there any kind of open case regarding the Rosello allegations in the DA's office? Is there an investigation or an open case?
Not that I'm aware at this moment.
Has the DA's office interviewed the Menendezes since this?
You know what? This is an ongoing investigation. We're working through their lawyers, and we'll continue to work through their lawyers. They're both represented. Okay, thank you, everyone.
¿Podría dar la información en español?
Sí, como que no.
Fiscal, lo que
Claro.
acaba de decir la-
Sí, claro. Bueno, estamos hoy aquí para, primero que nada, educar a la comunidad sobre el asunto del caso de los hermanos Menéndez. Esto fue un caso que pasó hace 35 años atrás. Estos dos jóvenes, uno de 19 y uno de 21 años, fueron convictos por asesinar a sus papás. La oficina tiene dos pasos legales para evaluar cuando alguien hace una petición de que creen que la sentencia que se les dio es excesiva o no fue justificada por el momento. Una se llama habeas y la otra se llama resentenciar. En este caso, los abogados representando a la familia Meléndez, a los dos hijos, los dos hermanos, han pedido que se evalúen las dos. Bajo el habeas, lo que está pidiendo el abogado que los defienda es decir, hay evidencia nueva que no fue evaluada durante el juicio y que si esa evidencia hubiera sido evaluada durante el juicio, a lo mejor el jurado hubiera llegado a diferentes decisiones. Donde el proceso de sentenciar es un proceso bajo la ley de California donde el fiscal puede evaluar una persona que fue convicta apropiadamente, se ha rehabilitado y entonces hacer una petición a la corte para que la persona reciba una sentencia nueva y esa sentencia nueva puede concluir en que salgan de la cárcel o que tengan menos tiempo en la cárcel o que tengan un juicio nuevo. Nosotros nos han presentado peticiones para las dos, habeas y resentenciar. En estos momentos estamos evaluando las dos. Yo no he tomado ninguna decisión en estos momentos. La evidencia que ha sido presentada es la evidencia que nos han presentado los abogados que lo están representando a ellos. El día 29 de noviembre es la próxima audiencia y esperamos ya tener una decisión para ese tiempo. Okay.
¿Cuál es la posibilidad de que tome la opción por una o por la otra?
En estos momentos no te puedo decir porque no sé todavía. Yo no he evaluado. Tenemos gente en la oficina que están de acuerdo con a lo mejor proveerle algún tipo de relevo y otras personas que no. Yo la voy a evaluar todo y tomamos la decisión. Your last question, by the way, this is the last one.
Is there a correlation between your announcement today and the fact that the election is coming up in just over a month?
No, this case has been reviewed by nearly a year. The Netflix documentary just came out recently. We have had a slew of requests of information on this case, and the hearing is coming up shortly, and we're simply addressing the questions that many of you have had for many days. Thank you so much. I'm sorry?
Will you be at the hearing?
I'm not sure yet.
Guys, there's one correction for the record. In one instance, we accidentally said that the hearing will be on the 29th. It'll be on the 26th, just for your records and for your reporting.
Do you know what department?
No, it's just, we misspoke. It's the 26th,
No,
November 26th.
what department, what courthouse?
We'll let you know as soon as we know.
Okay.
And also, just for your edification, we don't discuss election on the HOJ property. It's not actually a crime to talk about the election. You can't respond to questions about the election or any propositions on government property. It's a government agent, okay? So no questions about the election.